potential and delaying any potential breach of the city. By striking now, they force the enemy into a dilemma: either continue neglecting defensive preparations and risk losing more key footholds, or divert already stretched resources to fortify their positions at the cost of their failing offensive. With each regained position, Ukraine not only disrupts Russian assault plans, but also secures valuable time to reinforce Pokrovsk's defenses, ensuring that any future Russian attempts to advance will be even more costly and difficult. If you are against the invasion of Ukraine and you want to support the work that I am doing, consider subscribing to our own independent news website. Here you can find our exclusive strategic insights, comprehensive overviews of all fronts, and regular tactical analysis videos. By subscribing, you will not only show your support for this channel, but also help and defend independent journalism. The link to our website is in the description. Thank you for watching this report, and I appreciate everyone who stepped up to join us.
United States President Donald Trump.
Germany's government.
What I am about to play for you is insane. It would be unthinkable in years past. A Trump official announced yesterday that Donald Trump has signed an executive order claiming that only the president can speak for what the law is. This is not how the Constitution works, but this is the view of the Trump administration. And who's going to stop them? That's my question.
Lastly, we have another executive order that President Trump signed relating to independent agencies. This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the President or the Attorney General can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Will.
That is not how the law works. That is not how this Ukraine should have invaded. You would be right, but listen to the way Ukraine didn't start the war. Ukraine was invaded. You would be right, but listen to the way Trump is framing it now.
I think I have the power to end this war, and I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all fairness, he doesn't have a clue. What he was so bad for this. He was so bad, so pathetic.
Why did Ukraine do this? Why did Ukraine get invaded by Russia? Why is it that they did this? They shouldn't have done it. A little bit different than the facts on the ground. And this is just bowing down to Putin. This is that authoritarian loving realignment that we were fearing. It's happening. It's happening daily. Now, a reporter did ask Trump about Doge and SpaceX, where SpaceX employees are now working. There is an overlap between Doge and SpaceX. SpaceX employees are working at a company that has billions in contracts with the government, and Musk oversees all of it. Isn't that a conflict of interest? And Trump goes, I'd never heard about that.
Mr. President, given your concerns about corruption, you said that if there were any conflicts of interest with Elon Musk, you wouldn't let him anywhere near it.
That's right.
Doge and SpaceX employees are now working directly at the Federal Aviation Administration and the Defense Department, agencies that have billions of dollars in contracts with Musk's companies or that directly regulate his companies. How is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, I mean, I'm just hearing about it, and if there is, and he told me before I told him, but obviously I will not let there be any conflict of interest.
Trump's just hearing about this. Why doesn't Trump know what's going on with Doge and SpaceX employees and the No.
And it'll go very substantial.
And they are going to use the lie that Social Security is corrupt to say, listen, the government our future in ways that will last decades. And if we're not paying attention, we will allow history to repeat itself. So stay engaged.
He's running his country, and at least he's a leader, unlike what we have in this country.
No, but again, he kills journalists that don't agree with him.
Well, I think our country does plenty of killing also, Joe. So.
The man has very strong control over a country. Now, it's a very different system, and I don't happen to like the system. But certainly in that system, he's been a leader far more than our president has been a leader. Putin's a killer. A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. It's always been there, right? The affinity, the affection, the admiration, the cozying up, the justifying and defending, the embracing of Vladimir Putin, Russia's murderous dictator. We saw this bond emerge publicly between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Trump's public comments going back at least a decade now, a relationship the Russian government worked hard and privately and publicly to solidify and cement and advance in many ways.
The United States, the country that since World War II has been on the side of democracies, is now not only just maybe walking away, but actually siding with the aggressor, with the autocratic regime. I can't overstate how different this is in the post-World War II America. And I think Ronald Reagan must be rolling over in his grave right now to watch a Republican administration, after all he did to help us win the Cold War, now not only sort of supporting Putin's position at the table, but just sort of gushing over him in this bromance that they have. So it's a really disturbing day because it will have impacts on international security and on the security of the United States, full stop.
Can you explain that to us? How does that impact our ability to protect ourselves? How does that impact intelligence sharing? How does that impact what our allies will share with us?
Sure. Well, it certainly, I think, makes them hedge. And we saw that in Europe this past week. Again, the European leaders were like, look, we usually take our cues from the United States. We usually come to you first. We usually push off if the Russians want to make a deal with us or the Chinese want to make a deal with us, because we'd always prefer to be working with you and take our cues from you. That's now not the case. They will openly say, like, you've been the leader for 70 years. We're not so sure you're the leader of the next, 100 years. So that's not good. When they perceive us as weak, they perceive us as not serious. But I think more importantly is, you can think whatever you want if you're, watching the situation in Ukraine.
när min tid har runnit ut. Vem bryr sig då? Vi kämpar på. Får en soldat ett värdigt slut? Får somna in, försvinna bort och aldrig vakna. För kriget, det kan förgöra en man. Jag ger mitt liv för mitt fosterland. Den vän saknar mig, så ser mig som den. En make, en vän, fader och son som aldrig kommer hem. Men vem sörjer mig? För kriget, det kan förgöra en man. Jag ger mitt liv för mitt fosterland. Men vem saknar mig, så ser mig som den. En make, en vän, fader och son som aldrig kommer hem. Ship is on fire!
The war had been raging and ravaging for 4 years, leaving millions of casualties from all sides. In the trenches of the front lines, people have asked the question, what is the price of peace? How many more must die? Exactly 5 years after the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, Germany is forced to sign an unconditional surrender. For the signing of this historical document, the French city of Versailles is chosen.
Sign a treaty to change the world. Tensions fall and a peace unfurled. Nothing like what had come before. It's a deal, it's a treaty that will end the war. Sign a treaty to change the world. Tensions fall and a peace unfurled. Nothing like what had come before. It's a deal, it's a treaty that will end the war.
A fragile but hopeful peace falls upon the European continent. America returns to their shores, Russia tend to their own matters, and the British Empire disbands their colonial forces. Parades are being held in victorious countries. The war that would end all wars is over. But not everyone agrees. In the underground, something is growing in the dark. Because for some, the war never ended. War will never entirely die. It will evolve. It will change. And war will return. Sooner than we think.
Sign a treaty to change the world. Tensions fall and a peace unfurled. Nothing like what had come before. It's a deal, it's a treaty that will end the war. Sign a treaty to change the world. Tensions fall and a peace unfurled. Nothing like what had come before. It's a deal, it's a treaty that will end the war. battles are